What's up, and welcome to the Loose Ends Fantasy Football Podcast, a fantasy football podcast for average fantasy football players, hosted by who, JJ?
Average fantasy players.
I am your host and reigning, undisputed, defending, drunk and draft dynasty league champion, and today it's just me and the big guy holding down the black and gold corner. It is my pleasure, no, my honor, on Veterans Day to introduce the prior serviceman, the myth, the 6'7" Pittsburgh powerhouse, a man so committed to the black and gold that he probably has analytic charts on how a terrible towel wave can improve game day morale by 50%. When I'm saying, hey, maybe it's time to play it safe, he's out here pulling off the fantasy football Hail Mary. Welcome, my guy. JJ, what's up, buddy? Welcome.
Thank you so much, man. Happy to be here as always.
Absolutely. Today we got a banger for y'all. We are going to kick things off hot. We're going to talk about our last week's essential starts and how we did on them. And then we're going to roll right into the NFC. Today we're going NFC, good, happy faces, all the things that we loved. And then we're going right into the sad faces, all the sad news, bad news, things that we did not like, the dislikes, downers, thumbs downs of the things of the NFC this week. So without further ado, JJ, let's kick it off with our essential starts of the week from week 10 recap. I'm going to let you go first.
All right. So, my quarterback essential start of the week in week 10 was Danny Dimes, Danny Euros, as you said so beautifully this weekend, since they were in Munich, Germany. That game was a fart fest. 12.2 fantasy points, 22 for 37, 190 yards. He had 2 interceptions, carried the ball 7 times for a grand total of 26 yards. 1 touchdown, and he was sacked 2 times. Jones is on bye week 11. Make sure you have someone, if you are one quarterback leagues, that you can fill in. I'm not sure that you're starting Danny Jones if you absolutely can avoid that. But like I said, he's on bye, so don't worry about that anyways. He's the quarterback on the year, 18. On the week, he was quarterback 13. It was a low-scoring week again for quarterbacks.
Very low, very, very low.
I wanted to say really quickly that game on Thursday was so good. I thought it set a great tone for the weekend, and then Sunday came and it was just like everybody just farted all over the place.
Oh,
Jets.
for sure.
So many teams. Anyway.
Absolutely. My essential start of the week this week was none other than Jalen Hurts, who had 24.68 fantasy points. Only went 14 for 20 passing, but had 2 touchdowns and 1 interception, but rushed 7 times for 58 yards and 2 tutties. So we all know that's where this man makes his money. So chalk another one up for me. Man, again, still leads the league for a lot of years in rushing touchdowns, which is crazy to think about coming from the quarterback position. But you get on that goal line and he's unstoppable. That tush push is unmatched. I'm going to roll right into the running back side of the house because I went with my boy, Bijan Robinson, 29.4 fantasy points, 20 carries for 116 yards, 2 TDs, 3 receptions for 28 yards as well. Another point for me on this one. We like 30 points from our running backs. JJ, who you got for your running back since the start of the week last week?
So, really quick, I have a run-on question for your quarterback. So, you said Jalen Hurts has the most rushing touchdowns of any quarterback that's active right now. I just wanted to ask you, do you know who holds the all-time record for most rushing yards in their career?
It's got to be Michael Vick.
It is. Do you know how many yards?
I have no clue, but I am sure that Lamar has got to be getting close to it.
So, actually, I'm so glad you asked that because the record is 6,109 rushing yards.
That doesn't seem like that much.
It doesn't, but then again, I think about him running, and I'm like, that motherfucker was always running. So
right.
it isn't because I'm about to tell you that Lamar is 852 yards away from the record.
Yeah, I just feel like Lamar
currently has 5,257 rushing yards in his career. That is insane to me. So I wanted to bring this up because I want you guys to be on watch with me because if Lamar Jackson takes this record, he's only been in the league for 6 years. That's pretty good. How long did Vic play? Do you know?
I'm not 100% sure.
Hmm. Anyway,
But
yeah.
that's
So
what I was gonna say because I feel like Lamar pretty much puts up close to 800 yards a season. So when you said 6,000, I just don't feel like it's that much when Lamar is damn near rushing for 1,000 yards every year. Obviously not 1,000 yards every year, but close to. Especially for a quarterback. I mean, the equivalent of a quarterback rushing for 1,000 yards, Lamar Jackson's doing it every year,
yeah.
which is just crazy. But let's move on to your running back essential start of the week.
So my running back, thank you for getting me back on track. My running back essential start of the week was. Let me get back up there. Sorry, Brees Hall. He had 12.3 fantasy points, 10 carries for 52 yards, 5.2 carry. That's not bad. 4 for 4, 4 receptions on 4 targets, 31 yards on 81% of the snaps. Running back number 18 on the week.
Tough for me being a Brees Hall owner, but I understand it seeing as how bad the Jets offense was this week for him to still get the target share and the touch share that he did in that offense. I can't be upset about it.
No,
Um, but it'll be interesting to see what happens going forward with this offense as a whole. Who did you have
absolutely.
for your receiver for essential starts?
So my receiver for essential starts was Brian Thomas Jr. He had 3.2 fantasy points, 2 receptions on 3 targets, 12 yards, 86% of the snaps. 2 down weeks in a row. He's got an injury, chest injury. He's okay. He's still running. He looks okay, but Mac Jones isn't better for Brian Thomas Jr. than Trevor Lawrence is. So facing off against the Lions in Week 11. So look for that. I don't know if you want to trust Mac Jones and Brian Thomas Jr. and their connection, but I'm probably going to have to because of injuries. I'm having a rough go with things right now.
Welcome to the team.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I'm really starting to feel it because I took a loss this week. So I took a loss against Shmi. I'll be 7-3 after Monday night, of course, but probably fall to third or fourth place. Third, you'll fall into second or
I
go
will
up
fall
into
into
second.
second. I will move into
Yep.
second. You will move into third.
There you go. And Joey may take his second loss. I actually haven't looked and see. I want to check on that really quick. Let me see.
It will actually be
Because,
dependent on this game.
yeah.
He has
See
Jonnu
where we're at.
Smith and Tyreek Hill, but he is playing against Tua, Jalen Waddle, and Cooper Kupp. So that's the benefit, right? He's playing against Tua. So even if Tua's throwing touchdowns to Jonnu Smith and Tyreek,
Oh, man.
Tua's getting all the yardage and the touchdowns for that as well. So it would take a lot of stats for him to pull off an extra 19 points to beat him in this matchup. So I think we're in a safe position right now to say that our league leader is going to fall one position right now. Unfortunately for our executive producer.
Um, the current score is 220.14 to 207. So that's D Judge's 220 and then Joey's 207. And
Okay,
they're
so
giving D
13-point
Judge an
difference.
82% chance of winning right now.
Still
The projected
18%.
Yeah, projected score 252.67, and Joey's projected is 228.58. So things are mixing up a little bit. We got a couple of movements, but yeah, honestly, the Brian Thomas Jr. performance really fucked me, and Justin Jefferson and a whole lot of other people.
My wide receiver essential start of the week
This
last
is
week was
interesting.
Garrett Wilson, which is yikes.
Mm.
The Jets were bums, washed, cooked, whatever adjective you want to use. 5 catches on 6 targets for 41 yards, finishing with 9.1 fantasy points. That's a no from GW this week for me. So sitting at 2 for 3. My tight end was Mr. Kyle Pitts, another downer. This is such a downer for me because we all want Kyle Pitts to be the guy that we've been hoping for him to be. Now, he's still 6th overall, but this week finished tight end 12 so far, 4 of 6 targets for 55 yards, totaling 9.5 fantasy points. Not what we're looking for. I don't hate it, but you definitely don't like it, right? 9.5 from your tight end, you're eh, especially on a down week for tight ends, tight end 12, whatever. Who'd you have for your tight end this week?
Unfortunately, mine is worse than yours. Adam Troutman. I thought he was going to do well against the Chiefs. I mean, it was a game. It was a close game, but unfortunately, he had 4.4 fantasy points. He had one catch on one target, 34 yards, which is a good catch, but we need more than that. We need more closer to 4 receptions. And that would have been a little bit better, right? Maybe 8 points. Then I'd be talking about him like you just talked about. Um, who did you say yours was?
I had Kyle Pitts.
Kyle Pitts, yeah. Damn, that's 2 weeks in a row down weeks, huh?
Yep,
And
absolutely.
then
And your
yeah,
IDP.
Troutman had a hot week. This I actually did get this one right. Jack Gibbons did it again. 27 fantasy points, 15 tackles on 59% of the snaps. Is this dude for real? I think he is. I'm kind of excited about him. I need to go back and watch his film though. I'm just excited to see that he's doing this on 59% of the snaps. That's 10% less than he played in last week. And we're again talking about him scoring 27 points. Fantastic, man. So ride the train. Shoot, I'm on this hype train. I'm about Jack Gibbons and Tennessee Titans. That's what I'm talking about. Gibbons is still only 24% rostered in sleeper leagues. So go take a look if you've got an IDP slot you need to fill. Definitely a waiver wire ad for me. If I think I'm gonna try and add him. If I have the room, I'm gonna have to give up somebody.
Gotcha. Yeah, for me, I said it in our group chat earlier when we talked about him. He's playing against Minnesota next week, a team that likes to throw the ball at, and then Aaron Jones just got hurt, so it will be Cam Akers in the backfield. So I'm
Mm.
looking at Sam Darnold to be throwing the ball a little bit more. I'm going to try and utilize their athletes in space. Um, it'll be tough to see what Jack Gibbons can do in a defensive scheme against an offense like that. The last two the last two defensive schemes that he played against or played in were against rush heavy teams. So it bode well for him to have the performances that he did. So, like I said, man, I think it'll be interesting to see how he performs. If he can do that again against Minnesota, I think I agree with you. He's for real and he's a definite go get.
So real quick, looks like Aaron Jones is dealing with a rib injury. So he's going to be limited at practice for sure, but we'll see if he's available for Sunday. The X-rays did come back negative too on his chest, second half of the game, so that's good. Hopefully he heals up. We'll see.
And my IDP essential start of the week to close things out for us was Mr. Jamian Sherwood.
Ooh,
This is a yes. Let's
and you played him this week,
fucking
right?
go. Yes, I did. I've been preaching about him and I haven't played him and
Yeah,
I played him.
there
I
you
didn't mess
go.
this one up this week. I started him as I
Good
should have been
pickup.
every week. 17 tackles, finishing with 28 fantasy points. Third straight week with 20 fantasy points, and fourth week totaling double digit tackles. Call it 3 for 5. I like it. Finishing over the 50% mark. Not mad about it. But we are going to move into our thumbs up, happy faces, the things that we really liked from the NFC side of the house this week. I will kick things off. The QB side, I'm going with Derek Carr.
Oh,
I know. I know. A lot of people were very angry with Derek Carr last week, but he showed out this week. 21.46 fantasy points. Now, went 16 for 25. Not super great, but 269 yards and 2 tutties, largely due to a couple of bombs to an MVS, a Mr. Marquez Valdez Scantling. All right. Former Packer, former Chief. All right. Derek also added in 4 rushes for 17 yards for a little seasoning on top. But he has Cleveland, the Los Angeles Rams, New York Giants, Washington, and Green Bay to close out the fantasy year. Here's the question: is he startable, streamable, or sittable going forward in a superflex league given this schedule? One more time: Cleveland, Los Angeles Rams, New York Giants, Washington, Green Bay.
I'm starting him against Cleveland. Probably gonna look at other options against the Rams. Starting him against the Giants. Probably starting him against the Commanders and Green Bay. Like I
Very
said, I'm
interesting.
probably weighing my options, but I don't know. The Rams defense is pretty tough. I feel like The Giants can be, but they're the worst team in the NFL. Can we just say that? I think the Giants are the worst.
So for
And
me,
Commanders
it's
are on fire, so we'll see.
Cleveland side of the ball. Miles Garrett coming in tough, right? You're gonna have to get the
Hmm.
ball out quickly, but you have Alvin Kamara, so maybe play the dump down game. The Rams side, I agree. He's a streamable start there. The Giants have had a sneaky good front. If they can give them problems up front, the Giants have a fairly good defense. I don't discredit the Giants' defense. I just hate their offense. Washington, what does interest me, I don't like any of the receiving core for New Orleans, including Chris Olave this year, even though he is a great talent. However, Marshawn Lattimore went to the Commanders. My guess is they would have him follow Olave. Who's going to know that offense better than Marshawn Lattimore? I think that's going to be a sneaky play there. And Green
Ooh,
Bay, same thing. Jair is going to follow Olave all across the field. I just don't like the start for Derek Carr in Green Bay either. That's my opinion on it. But let's
that's
move
smart.
over to you, QB
Oh,
side of the house.
quarterback.
What did you see from the NFC happy sides?
So I went with Brock Purdy. He put up 353 yards this weekend against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 21.82 fantasy points. 25 for
Sheesh.
36, two tutties. He had the 40-yard bonus touchdown, so that helped a lot. 4 carries for 17 yards, and he was sacked 3 times. So, yeah, I went with Brock. It was a close one, too, but he looked fantastic, and I want to see him airing that shit out. It was pretty fun to watch. I want to see who was the target there. Christian McCaffrey is back, so that's always got to be a fun target. He went 6 for 7.
Yeah, he had a great catch down the
Yeah,
sideline.
68 yards, dude. Oh my gosh, yeah. I got to go back and watch some of these games, but he good to have him back. I lost to him. So Ricky Pearsall, also someone else that was interesting.
That was the 40-yard play, and he ended up winning.
Hmm. That was a beautiful first
I
touchdown,
think
right?
he was the rookie of the week, I
Yeah.
believe, for that
First
Sunday.
career touchdown. Congratulations, Ricky. Ricky.
Yeah. Did you watch his interview?
I didn't. I don't think I have
I
seen
don't like how he talks.
it. Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, why?
I don't know. He has like that Florida accent, weird. I don't know.
Island boy. I'm just
Yeah, it literally something. I don't know. I don't like it.
kidding.
It was an immediate like -2 points. I'm not a fan. But we will move it over. We cover the quarterback side of the happy side. What position would you like to move into, Mister JJ?
um, I want to talk about. I'm going to talk about my running back, who
Ooh,
was an absolute workhorse this week. He had 28 rushes for 153 yards. I'm talking about Chuba Hubbard from the Carolina Panthers. He also had a touchdown that was over 40 yards, which was a beautiful play. Oh, wait. No, wait. Sorry, I was looking at somebody else. Ha! Never mind. 153 yards. Um, he did have a fumble in this game, so he probably would have had more. I mean, 24.9 fantasy points is pretty damn good. Sorry. Sorry, I just want to look at something. There we go. Yeah. He had one touchdown in this game, and I gotta tell you, watching the film, I was blown away. That dude is so good. Now it makes sense why they gave him the extension. He deserves it. Truthfully, he's the number 6 running back on the season and number 18 overall.
it's tough because what do you do with Jonathan Brooks coming in now? Because he's going to be healthy,
I think you work him in slowly, but Chuba's going to be there, so I think
and now
it's
he's there
going to
for
be a
4 years.
it's going to be a split backfield between the two of them.
It's
So
actually an
going forward, it
interesting
has to be.
concept.
I think it will be.
For
We'll see.
For me, my running back side of the house, I went with Mr. James Conner. RB4 so far on the week, 12 rushes for
Fantastic.
33 yards and a touchdown, but in very unorthodox fashion, Connor was making his money through the receiving game this week. 5 receptions for 80 yards. He finished the week with 22.3 fantasy points as Arizona stomped the Jets. So he only really saw 54% of the snap share. Trey Benson and DeMarcado, they got some touches. They got some work because they were blowing the doors off the Jets. Was still able to produce. And I just traded away James Conner as we're inching closer to the trade deadline in our league. As I'm sure most of you guys in your leagues will or should be getting close to your trade deadline. From a dynasty perspective, Mr. JJ, what are your thoughts on James Conner? 29 years old, final year of his contract. What would your plan be with Mr. Conner?
So I love what you did. I think that's exactly what you need to do at this point in the season with older running backs. You need to start moving on from them and seeing what you can get in exchange. Um, but if I am a contending team, that's the one I like. That's who I'm targeting because they're going to be the ones that will utilize James for this season, hopefully helping them in the playoffs. Whereas I don't know that you can rely on him next year and the year after that. I don't know how much longer James Conner is going to be with the Cardinals. They just drafted potentially his replacement in Trey Benson, who actually is looking much better, by the way. What was he looking up? Shit. James Conner.
So I ended up trading him away for some picks and Joe
He's
Mixon.
29. Yeah.
So, and Joe Mixon's 28, turned 29 the end of the year. But I traded away for Joe Mixon because Joe Mixon did sign the contract with Houston. So we know that he's going to be with Houston for a few years. So that for me solidified the next 2 to 3 years with Joe Mixon. And I liked that portion of things, knowing that James Conner was on his last year of his contract, which is why I wanted to make that lateral move. Plus, seeing the usage for Joe Mixon, yikes. I wanted all of that. It doesn't look like the Texans have anybody contending with him for any touches over there in Houston, so it just made sense for me. But I'd love to move into, you know what? Let's go into the IDP side of the house. For me this week, somebody that made me very happy was DeMarvion Overshown,
Hey.
the linebacker for. He's a linebacker D line hybrid
He's an
for
yeah, he plays
Dallas.
outside linebacker, but he comes off the edge sometimes too.
He is the IDP one so far this week with 35 points. He had 11 tackles and 2 sacks on the day. This is 3 straight weeks with 17 plus fantasy points. He did it this week on only 71% of snaps, which is because he left with an injury, unfortunately. But I'm looking at ownership and sleeper, and he's only rostered in about 33% of leagues. So if you're in need of a streamable linebacker, it certainly looks like this man has made his mark and isn't going anywhere. Now,
Ah,
dynasty aside, be wary because he did suffer a knee injury
okay.
that
I was
had
gonna
him
say.
leaving the game on Sunday. However, X-rays show no significant injury, but
Mhm.
he will be questionable for the next few weeks because he was officially diagnosed with bursitis, which, don't worry, I did the research for you, is just inflammation and swelling near the knee joint. So could potentially be available to go next week versus Houston, which we just spoke about with Joe Mixon. Would be a great matchup for him as Houston loves to run the ball. Joe Mixon is looking at 25, 30 touches a game. That's a great matchup for any linebacker. So I think that is a great touch for somebody that wants to pick up a streamable linebacker if he is playing for next week. JJ, you have numerous IDPs that I know you want to talk about that you're super
Okay.
excited about. Talk about them.
Yeah, so I picked a Sean Robinson from the Carolina Panthers. He had 23 fantasy points, 7 tackles, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble on 53% of the snaps. Sean Robinson is a little bit older, but the Panthers defense has kind of gotten a little bit better to me as of late. Maybe not. They won, didn't they?
They
They won this
did.
game. But yeah, he had a great week. Let me see.
I feel like anybody who's playing against Carolina right now, if you lose to Carolina, you as a head coach is immediately put on the hot seat.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I like. I'm so worried about the Giants and Dabble, and they really. The root of all those problems is the contract that they gave Daniel Jones.
Do we think it'll be a benefit to Dabble if he does get fired? Because I don't think he'll have any issues getting a job somewhere.
No, I think he should go back to being an offensive coordinator somewhere.
I think he'll have no issues going to get hired anywhere else. He'll go get picked up as an OC somewhere, have no issues, you
Maybe head
know,
coach somewhere. I don't know. It feels
exactly
like there's going to
fitting
be a
into
lot of
another organization.
because right now
I
we have
just
two availabilities right now.
Right.
You know,
I just think
like a
it's
couple
an
weeks.
issue where he's at in New York. What they did over there has put a lot of people's careers in jeopardy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what's hard about it is like you're in charge of a lot of people who could potentially be losing their job. But I'm sorry. Let me just talk about Sean Robinson. He is 29, but for what it's worth, he's the number 12 D tackle. I don't know what the hell that means, but he's had 23 points in week 8, 11 points in week 9, and then 23 points in week 10. He gets about 50% of the snaps, 7 tackles, 1 sack, forced fumble. Like I said, that's pretty good. If you need someone, I think he's someone you can put into your lineup for the D line position out of Alabama. He's pretty nasty.
Love it. I think you
Fast
also
over the
have a
tackles.
linebacker and a DB you'd love to talk about as well, correct?
Oh yes, oh yes. Oh yeah, one of my favorite. I actually love this player, and I had him on my team for quite a while. Is Josie Jewell. Josie Jewell had 20 fantasy points. He was really a huge threat to that defense. Intercepted Danny Dimes, or this was the
Which
Munich
was a
game.
crazy interception.
It was. It was. It was actually really crazy. And then he also had 6 tackles, and he recovered a fumble. So the dude was really on top of it. 20 fantasy points, probably the highest he scored all season. Had 75% of the snaps, and if you watch the game, he was just absolutely dominant. And then my DB is Tyler Newman from the Giants, the rookie out of Minnesota. 12 tackles, 60% of the snaps. He's 23 years old, rookie, like I said. One of my favorite DBs coming out of this 2024 rookie draft class. And he had his biggest day of the season in this matchup. 12 tackles is incredible for a DB. We've talked about it a lot on this show. If you can get a DB that tackles, it's always happiness.
We love that. What do you think, JJ? Should we go wide receiver? Should we go tight end?
Let's go tight end.
Perfect. I went with Mr. TJ Hawkinson. Welcome back, big
Oh,
fella.
welcome back, TJ.
It's
TJ.
been a long road back, but this week, 9 targets, 8 receptions, 72 yards, 15.2 fantasy points, no tutties, and still coming through on the 15-point mark. Gotta love the production from your tight end position. Moving forward for TJ, where do you think he ranks in the tight end discussion for the remainder of the season?
Mm, it's going to be tough because how many games has he missed? 9?
So from now going into the rest of the season.
Okay, so it's difficult. I'm worried. I'm worried about this because Justin Jefferson had a rough day, but I think going forward, I think he's a top 10 tight end from now to the end of the season. I'm going to say closer to 9, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. And who do you have for your tight end?
My tight end is Mr. Sammy Laporta.
Ooh.
19.6 fantasy points. He went 3 for 6, 66 yards, 1 receiving touchdown, 60% of the snaps. Unfortunately, though, he left the game in the third quarter due to an AC joint injury. So, got to keep an eye out on that. Check the reports. Hopefully, we get an update and it's negative and he's going to be back soon. But another bummer, man. He seems to be really struggling with struggling with his health this year. I do hope that it's nothing serious. It says day to day per coach. This is 4 hours ago. Yeah, so it looks like he'll probably play. It might be a game time decision in week 11, but just in the meantime, maybe look towards Brock Wright because they are playing Jacksonville.
Gotcha. And do you want to talk about your wide receiver as well?
My receiver of wide was someone you already mentioned, actually. I'm talking about Marquez Valdez Scantling. What? That was wild. 26.9 fantasy points, 3 for 3, 109 yards receiving, and 2 touchdowns. One of them was over 40 yards, that we spoke about, and he only had 55% of the snaps. Now, it's interesting because in New Orleans, Olave has been dealing with a concussion, right? Was he out for this game?
He was.
Okay. Rashid Shaheed gone for the season, right?
Correct.
Who else is there? And the reason why I'm asking that is because I want to know, is Marquez Valdez Scantling worth adding? Because I think he might be.
They Bub Means, who is now on
Pretty
IR
good.
as well.
Oh, what happened to him?
I
Let me
couldn't
check
remember.
for you. I'll check for you.
Bub Means is now on there. They have Cedric
Oh
Wilson,
yeah,
I
he's on the
believe.
IR. But I
Yeah,
mean,
it's tough over there.
yeah,
Taysom Hill.
ankle injury. But means I'm seeing Mason Tipton, rookie out of Yale, who played 55% of the snaps and didn't have any targets. It's looking rough there. So my point exactly that. I know that he's listed as the wide receiver 3 on this depth chart, but clearly Derek Carr likes him. He loves to throw that deep ball. So I feel like Marquez is a good pickup. Maybe spend some fab to go get him if you need a receiver because of these injuries that we've seen a bunch of to these receivers. So yeah, go check it out, man. It looks like he's only rostered in 20% of sleeper leagues. So hey, could be a good option for you.
My wide receiver happy face this week was Amon-Ra St. Brown, 20 fantasy points, which is becoming an expectation from
I'm on.
Amon-Ra. 6 catches on 8 targets, 60 yards and a touchdown. But the impressive thing to note here about Mr. St. Brown is 7 straight weeks hauling in a touchdown. He
Mm-hmm.
currently holds the wide receiver 6 position on the year, and we don't see that moving drastically anytime soon. He's an essential part of this offense. He's consistent on all fronts. Amon-Ra St. Brown. If you got him, you know exactly what he can do. If you can go get him, good luck. If you can't, you know why. But JJ, before we kick anything off to our break, before we go to the sad faces, or anything you want to add?
I got a quick question for you. Okay.
Okay.
Can you name the top 5 highest scoring fantasy players through week 10 of the 2024 NFL season?
Lamar Jackson.
Trying to find these. Oh shit. Yep, that's number 1.
Derrick Henry.
That's number 3.
Alvin Kamara.
Number 4.
Jamar Chase.
That's correct. That's number 2.
Bijan's up there, but I don't think he's in the top 5 yet.
He is 7th. So you're
Is it an
correct.
IDP?
It's an IDP is 6th.
Is it Buddha?
Buddha is 6th. Yeah. Good job.
I just looked at these like yesterday.
Someone is okay. I don't want to give it away completely,
Oh, he
but
just Joe Burr. He just had a
yeah,
huge game. Joe
yeah,
Burrow.
yep, very good. So number 1 is Lamar Jackson. Number 2 is Jamar Chase. Number 3 is Derrick Henry. Number 4 is Alvin Kamara. Number 5, Joe Burrow.
Joey B. I
Yeah,
wouldn't have guessed that before the
crazy.
season.
So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh wait, I have Josh Allen here twice. Damn it. there's one IDP in the top 10. There's I think 4 quarterbacks, 1 receiver, 2 running backs. Pretty interesting to look at that.
I know one of my pet peeves is when we have the game going and recording during the game is commenting on the game that is at hand. Can you do me a favor, JJ? Just
Yeah.
in live game, can you see how many turnovers have happened in this game already? Because it has got to be
The Monday
insanity.
night game?
Yes.
All right, let me check.
There are so many
There's a
turnovers
lot.
already.
There's a
It's insane.
one interception from Matt Stafford, one interception from Tua, and a fumble lost.
And then they just had a fumble loss from Tua right now and a fumble loss from Kyron.
Oh, yeah, I see a fumble loss from Kyron. Sorry, I'm still going through these. Um, Dennis Allen had a 10-yard catch. That's nice. All right, yeah, that's all. Let's see.
Yeah, so we have 4 turnovers in the first quarter and a half.
Jesus.
That's insanity. We're looking at the 7-minute and 30-second mark right now.
Miami's up 10-0.
I just watched Tua have a sack fumble, and Jared Verse, the
Ooh,
rookie, had a fumble recovery in the backfield. So
very
very interesting.
nice.
But we are going to go ahead and take a break right here, and we will come back with the NFC sad faces of the day. We'll
Woo.
be right back. All right, we are back, and we are going to move to the thumbs down sad faces, the downers of the NFC from week 10. And I'm going to kick things off with Mr. Jared Goff from the QB position, throwing 5 INTs. We can't not talk about that. He finished with 7.8 fantasy points and finished QB 15 on the day. This was another rough day for him. He's now QB 15 on the year. He has only had 4 QB 15 or better finishes out of 9 on the season, and they were against Seattle, the Shambles of Dallas, and 2 down weeks for QBs, where a 14.8 finish was QB 10 and a 7.8 finish was QB 15. There's been a lot of media attention surrounding how incredible Jared Goff has been playing, but from a fantasy standpoint, let's compare him to picks, JJ. Next year, 2025, you get 1 pick. What are you giving up in an even exchange for Jared Goff right now?
An even exchange? Hmm.
I want it to be specific, like the 206, the 309. What exactly are you giving up?
I would take so like 208 to 210 in 2026, like a late second.
Oh, you're in the 2026 mark.
Yeah.
So 2025, where are you
I
at?
don't know if I want to pay 2025 second.
I'm in.
Definitely
See, that's
not
what
paying
I'm
it
saying.
first.
I'm in the
Definitely
same
not
boat.
paying
I'm
it
in like
first.
a 302 in 2025 to get him.
Yeah.
I'd rather take my shot at a 208, 209 rookie than see what happens with the shell of Jared Goff in the next coming years.
Yeah, like I think asking for a 2025 second at all is too much. But maybe a 2026 second. Remember that?
Not a bad idea. All right, your QB downer from the NFC this week. Who you got?
Oh my god, guys. It's Sammy motherfucking D. Sam Darnold, Minnesota Vikings, 5.44 fantasy points. He is the reason why I lost this week in my matchup against the Schmeester. 24 for 38. Threw the ball 38 times. He had 241 pass yards, which is not bad. Here's the problem: 3 interceptions. They were
Yikes.
nasty, too. 7 carries for 28 yards, sacked 1 time. In a 2-quarterback league, if you played Sammy D, you are feeling what I'm feeling. Thought he was going to have a huge week against the Jags, and it was a absolute. I don't want to say fire fest again because I already said that. I want to think of something better, but it was awful. It was awful, man.
It was whatever noise you just made.
I don't know. It was like a burp and a giggle. I'm not sure what the hell that is. A gargle, a garple. Um. Yeah. Anyway, Sammy D, coming back from the bye week, not the Sammy D we were hoping for, but he's got a good schedule coming up. Let's see here. He's got Tennessee. That's a tough one. Chicago. Ooh, that's tough too. I might actually have to switch over because I don't know if these next 2 matchups are going to be good for him. But currently the quarterback 12 in the season, number 24 overall. But unfortunately, had a down week. The last 2 weeks weren't too bad. 15 points get you there, but like I said, as your QB2, it's tough to rely on him over the next 2 weeks. You may have to pivot. But yeah, I was disappointed. It was a boring game. What was
I
the
love
final
that
score? Twelve
you
seven.
brought up the Shmee and the 2 QB league because Shmee has famously spoken about not playing two quarterbacks going forward, and is now sitting fourth in our league. Correct? He will now be 6-4, I believe, in our league,
That's correct.
which will put him in fourth. And I took a page out of his playbook this week. Funny enough, I'm projected right now to finish out the week at 228, so pushing the 230 mark. And I played one quarterback this week, and my quarterback scored me 1.04 fantasy points with Aaron Rodgers. And I was foolish enough to put Nico Collins in my lineup with prayers, so he didn't even play. So is the 2 QB strategy really the go-to strategy? That is a question that we will have to take a very long look at the end of the season.
Yeah, right now I can tell you if you have the depth, I don't think you have to play a quarterback there. So maybe it's something that you could do strategically if you want to maybe get enough pieces like a CMC where you can put them in your flex and they can score you 20 to 30 points a week. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, highly recommend. I highly do not recommend. I played K Dotton in my Superflex this week, and it was not quarterback numbers. I mean, this week it might have been quarterback numbers because quarterback numbers were very low, but
Hmm.
traditionally not recommended. But wanted to touch on that. Shout out to Shmee and his wild, bold strategies that are paying him dividends just over 500. Clown. Which position would you like to move to? You know what? Actually, nope. I'm moving to running back because I have a spiel.
Oh, here we go.
I'm touching on DeAndre Swift.
Ooh,
And I feel like every week it's just an attack on the Bears. And I promise it's not on purpose.
I have a bear
But
in here too.
good. But I have another one. But this week, my downer of the NFC for the running back room was DeAndre Swift. And he
Hmm.
was my downer just because he's been doing so well. This week, 16 rushes for only 59 yards and just one reception for 6 yards, totaling 7.5 fantasy points. Not what we want to see out of the backfield for him, especially against a New England team that gives up points to the running back position in fantasy. But, while I'm in the spirit of shitting on the Chicago Bears, let it be known the Chicago Bears have not beaten the Green Bay Packers since December 16th of 2018. That's 2,157 days ago. A few fun things that were happening in the league, you ask? I got you. Kirk Cousins signed the first fully guaranteed contract with the Vikings for 3 years, $84 million. I know you're thinking Kirk Cousins, he plays for the Atlanta Falcons. Yeah, that's how long ago it was. Baker Mayfield was selected by the Browns first overall in the NFL draft. He's played for multiple teams since then. Patrick Mahomes, your beloved Patrick Mahomes, the owner of all the referees in the league, played his first QB1 game and threw for 4 TDs and 6 TDs in his second week after KC traded away Alex Smith to the then Washington Redskins, not the Commanders, the Redskins. Mike McCarthy was fired as a head coach after suffering a loss to the Cardinals with 4 games left in the season. And Tom Brady beat the Los Angeles Rams, led by Jared Goff and Todd Gurley, 13-3 in the Super Bowl. That's how long it's been since the Bears have beat the Packers. Don't forget it. Anyway, would you like to talk about your running backs, JJ?
Okay, my running back
Oh,
is
sorry, I
Devin
forgot to say
Singletary.
clip it.
Clip it. This is Barley. Everybody say hi, B.
Hi, bud.
Okay, so he's being fussy, so we're gonna talk through it. Devin Singletary had 5.5 fantasy points, guys. 23% of the snaps. Scary. Only 8 carries for 40 yards. It's 5 a carry. One reception for 5 yards on one target. It looks like Tyrone Tracy is here to stay. He had 17.4 fantasy points, and he had 80% of the snaps. So it looks like motor isn't running no mo. Your motor don't work. So now they're gonna go to Tyrone Tracy. And unfortunately, they go on bye in week 11, so you don't. I mean, I guess not too unfortunate. Oh, thank you, buddy. It's not unfortunate, but it's not like you're going to be missing him. If you do have him, I don't even know if you're going to be able to get rid of him for anything. He might be a droppable player at this point. But if you are interested in handcuffing him because if an injury happens to Tyrone Tracy, that's an option too. But I personally don't think you need to roster him right now. He's rostered 92% of leagues.
A lot
I
of
mean,
hopes and prayers out there.
he did have 14 and a half and 18 fantasy points in weeks 2 and 3. So I mean, and that's when he had 80% of the snaps, which is what Tyrone Tracy is now getting. So there's that.
Which position would you like to move on to next, Mr. JJ?
I'm going to talk about my receiver who is paired with. We already talked about quarterbacks, right?
We did.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about my receiver now because I'm pissed. It's Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson. Absolutely love Justin, but 9 targets. He's had 9 targets in the last 3 weeks in a row. He had 5 receptions. Prior to this, he had 2 weeks of over 100 yards. We talked about that on the last episode. This week, only 48 yards on 5 receptions. The targets were there again. Only 9.6 yards per catch and 5.33 per target, which is not even close to what he was getting before. In week 9, he was 15.22 yards per target, and week 8 was 12.78. He was going up, and then he fell right back down. It was a weird week, weird game, bad weather, right, in Jacksonville.
Yes.
And this is what happens. You have bad quarterback play, 3 interceptions from Sam Darnold. I mean, that's not JJ's fault. I don't blame JJ for that, but I do want to see him have a little bit better performance. And then, like I said, Tennessee and Chicago, the next 2 weeks, those are tough matchups.
For me, my wide receiver downer of the week was Devonta Smith. What a letdown in a game where they clearly didn't need him as they decimated Dallas. This still hurts fantasy owners, right? 2 receptions on 3 targets for only 14 yards, totaling 3.4 fantasy points, and now is nursing a hamstring injury. Not a good week or good sign for weeks to come. Hopefully Devonta heals quick because they will be seeing a very good Commanders team next week, and they'll need all the offensive weapons to keep up with Cliff Kingsbury and that high-powered offense in Jaden Daniels. But I want to move over into the tight end position because I have another bear,
Ooh.
Cole Kmet,
Oh,
tight end
no.
13 on the year, but these last 2 weeks, tight end 38 and tight end 34. They forgot he exists. But in Cole's defense, I think Caleb Williams forgot how to play football. So I don't blame him too much. We are seeing Cole, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Roma Dunze, all elite talents being rendered essentially prayers in the fantasy world at this point. Cole finished
Useless.
with 4 targets and just 2 receptions for 13 yards, totaling 3.3 fantasy points. A rough last few games for him and a rough schedule coming up for him as well. Green Bay, Minnesota, Detroit, San Francisco, Minnesota, Detroit to close
That's
out the
tough.
fantasy year. So that is something tough. If you
Tough.
have that schedule with Cole Kmet, I hope you have other tight ends to close out your season. Coming into playoffs, closing out playoffs with San Francisco, Minnesota, and Detroit is going to be tough.
Mm-hmm.
JJ, who you got for your tight end side?
My tight end side is another one of my own tight ends who really pissed me off this week. Talking about Mike Gesicki, because all of a sudden he's not the relevant tight end, and they decide to go with Tanner Hudson. What the hell is going on? Tanner Hudson ends up having 16 fantasy points on only 35% of the snaps. Mike Gesicki had 71% of the snaps, 9 targets, 9. Damn it, I'm sorry, Barley. It's okay. And then he only caught the ball 4 times, 30 yards. That's horrible. But should we be worried about Tanner Hudson? I mean, do we?
I don't think
I'm
so.
not rostering him. I think that they're going to go back to Mike Gesicki. They were running a lot of 2, 3 tight end sets, which was really interesting to me. Was that
That was
13
one of those
personnel?
games that when we were watching together, we had said, how many tight ends does Cincinnati have? Because they
Yeah.
just spread the ball to so many tight ends. But I think the main guy is still Mike Gesicki. I don't think we have to worry about Tanner Hudson too much. Now, if we see this in back-to-back weeks, let's throw the question mark up there. Let's throw the Riddler sign in the air and see what happens.
Because the good thing is he's still getting 71% of the snaps. So
Right.
we'll
Very
just hope that
interesting.
Yeah, it switches back up to Gasicki. But that offense is strange. Go ahead.
And you can finish up. Let's do the IDP side of the house and close us out with the IDPs.
Okay, so I'm gonna go with D. I'm gonna go DB, LB, and then D line. So my defensive back is Jesse Bates.
Good pick.
Only 4 tackles. That's disappointing. 6 fantasy points, and he had 53% of the snaps. Um, sorry, excuse me. Yeah, they lost this game. This is another game that was like, oh god, what the hell is going on? But the Falcons came back down to earth a little bit, and I just felt like he has been doing pretty well, and that was not what we had seen from him. Let me see where that. Yeah, I mean, he had 30 points in week 2, but since then he's had 17, 10, 12, 19. Those are his highest scoring weeks. Um, I don't know. I'm not sure that you need to. He's 85% rostered. I don't know that I would be starting him right now. Well, they are playing Denver next week. I don't know. How do you feel about that? Would you play Jesse Bates against Denver?
I would. Jesse Bates is a downhill safety. Yeah,
He had a low
backtrack.
he had a
It's
low number
tough.
of snaps this week too, and still had 4 tackles. So
Yeah. You know what? Tune into our next episode when we talk about the AFC side of the house because I will tell you how I exactly feel about that Denver backfield.
yeah, it's bad. Okay, sorry, this isn't fast at all, is it? Jermaine Edmonds, Chicago Bears. That's my linebacker. NFC sad face of the week. 8 fantasy points, 4 tackles on 64% of the snaps. If we're not getting 10 plus tackles, we're not happy. And this Chicago Bears defense is all they got going for him right now. He's rostered in 64% of. Oh, I'm sorry. He's rostered in 64% of leagues. Let me double check that. But I think I'm mixing that up with how many snaps he got this week. I'm going to move on in the meantime. Deron Payne, 7 fantasy points, 5 tackles, 55% of the snaps. Deron Payne is not the superstar we expected to see on the D line. It's actually been Dante Fowler who had another
Crazy.
20 plus fantasy point week. I know he's playing fantastic. I talked
Out
about
of
him
his
last
mind.
week in my D line portion for NFC Happy Face. He's playing fantastic. He was really frustrating. You know, obviously I'm a Steelers fan, so it was tough. But they got a great team. What a great game that was. I'm hoping that. Well, I'm not really hoping this, but maybe Deron Payne can turn it around. I don't think he's really had very high scoring at all this year. As I said, I do think it's more of Dante Fowler's line now. Yeah, I mean, Deron doesn't have many games in double digits. He has one game with 13 points this season. So, yeah, not looking
Crazy.
good for Deron Payne.
My IDP to close things out, sad face, was Kirby Joseph. Up until now, had strung together
Oh,
quite a few good games.
mhm.
Only had one single digit scoring week in week 2, but finished this week with only 2 tackles, 1 solo, and 1 assist, totaling 3 fantasy points on the day. Definitely a down day for him and a crazy day for Lions players altogether, even though they pulled out the win in the end. Sad to see it for Kirby Joseph because we like the things he's doing over there in Detroit. But
Mhm.
that closes things out for us on the sad face side of the house. JJ, do you have any questions for me before we close out this episode?
I do actually. Are you ready for this?
Send them.
So, Jonathan Mingo was traded last week from the Panthers to the Dallas Cowboys. Almost said Chicago Bears.
Gross.
Jonathan Mingo was selected 39th. So that's the second round of the 2023 NFL draft by the Panthers.
Yeah, we thought he was going to be so much better.
I know. Recently, traded to the Cowboys in just his second season. Who was the last wide receiver selected earlier than 39th overall that was traded away in his second season?
How recent was it?
Let me check. $2022.
Oh, wow. I have no idea. Great question.
You know who this is.
I'm sure I know who it is, but that's a fantastic question.
Okay, I'll tell you this. Played for the Giants. And was traded to the Chiefs.
What?
Yeah.
Got drafted by the Giants and got traded
Yep.
to the Chiefs?
Yep. We
I have no
all
idea.
thought this guy was going to be so good. He went to the University of Florida. He's still really young.
It's not Sky Moore, is it?
No.
He didn't go to Florida.
You can't think of this guy because he's trash.
He still plays for the Chiefs?
No.
Oh,
I think he was with Cleveland or something. I don't know.
I have no idea. Send it.
Come on. All right, let me give you another hint. You got this. Okay.
You're killing me, Smalls.
He played 9 games with the Chiefs in 2022 and 13 games in 2023. You picked this guy up in fantasy several times.
D-
And actually, you traded him away at one point. Still nothing?
I got nothing.
All right, it's Kadarius Toney.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
He never even came into my mind.
Dude, I was trying so hard. There was one other thing I wanted to say.
Yeah,
He always had hamstring issues or something, right?
it doesn't matter. You would have said anything in the world. He never even came to my mind.
So, interesting
Very
to see how his career ended up. Now I don't think he plays for anybody. I see that he was with Cleveland, but yeah, that's pretty interesting. Hopefully, Jonathan Mingo isn't the next Kadarius Toney.
Well, we certainly hope not. But is there anything you'd like to say to the folks at home before we wrap up the
Cheers.
NFC side of the house?
Let's get
Absolutely.
ready for week
Lemonade.
11. Let's get ready for week 11.
Y'all know what it
Good
is.
luck.
Smash all them buttons, like, comment, subscribe, say what's up in the comments, tell us what we did wrong, didn't do right, all that fun stuff. We'll see you next time.